Let's talk about how realistic Saudi Arabia's push into the EV space is, because there's some really interesting analysis that PwC has been doing in this space. Saudi Arabia wants 30% of Riyadh's new car sales by 2030 to be EVs. Is that realistic or just aspirational?
Well, look, this region has always been ambitious, and when we see that there is a royal decree, these decrees are actually pushed through. So I believe that 30% of new car sales will be battery electric in Riyadh by 2030. So this is, I think, the only limitation. We have to think about that. Obviously, the government can also influence distributors in managing their stock. And if they have a mandate to make 30% battery electric, I think that's what's going to happen.
Some really interesting numbers in this latest PwC report as well. Saudi Arabia committing or allocating, I believe, $39 billion towards building out and developing this EV ecosystem. That's across manufacturing, infrastructure, battery supply chains as well. Can Saudi Arabia really build a globally competitive EV ecosystem with that type of spend? And again, is that aspirational or realistic given where we stand today?
Well, look, I think with the right partners in the world, everything is possible. Saudi Arabia has been traditionally great at bringing the best of the world to the kingdom and then build ecosystems based on lessons learned, shortening the learning curve, building business models that are more profitable and more efficient, because they can completely take out the learning curve as being made already in other parts of the world. So I think, yes, it is definitely a push. It's very ambitious. We also see that it's not easy to execute, but it can be made with the right partners. We have seen Lucid coming in from the US, setting up shop and already assembling vehicles here in Saudi Arabia. Hyundai is actively investing into the ecosystem. Foxconn, in a new joint venture, building the first electric vehicle fully made in Saudi Arabia with Seer. So we see a lot of movement in the market and things are happening.
And is the end goal full domestic manufacturing?
Well, I think it definitely has to be. When you think about assembling an electric vehicle, which is very modular, is actually rather easy. This is why you see a lot of new brands popping up across the world. This being said, we will also see a lot of them disappear with the defragmentation over the next years to come again, because not all of them will survive. But if you want to build a proper ecosystem where Saudi people have the opportunity to have great jobs in country and contribute to the wealth of the kingdom, then having the manufacturing ecosystem is the end goal. And I see that happening, maybe not at the large scale like we've seen it in the US and Japan and Europe, but niche, and then supplying the region with electric and non-electric combustion engine vehicles.
Really interesting. And you mentioned some of the key players in the space already. Of course, big news last week with Tesla making its own entry into the market, Seer, Lucid as well, all players there. But the PwC report says only 7% of car models in KSA today are EVs. So there's still a lot of scope for growth there. The issue is as well, most of the cars on sale are over $65,000. So to what extent is cost a barrier? And what do you see as the other barriers to actually developing this ecosystem, particularly on the manufacturing side?
Yeah, so look, you already hit the nail on the head with the main barrier being cost, but also charging infrastructure. So we see the total cost of ownership, which is me or us buying electric vehicles or vehicles in general, owning them and then selling them again, taken into consideration depreciation. We are now reaching parity for electric vehicles in the region. In Europe, for example, in the US, it's already much cheaper to own an electric vehicle, also without subsidies, and here now we're getting there. So there is an incentive of owners, particularly of businesses, to go electric because they save money. And then obviously the key challenge is, where can I charge my cars? And as we have more electric vehicles, there will be more demand for public charging, and there is a big gap that you may have seen in our report as well. So we forecast that by 2030, there's going to be 6 times more demand for public charging stations in Saudi Arabia, and by 2035, I think approximately more than 10 times more demand. So there is a gap, which is on the one hand a challenge and a great opportunity for investors to start building that infrastructure and making money with it.
Okay, so